Hello, young fellows. The following story is quite difficult to categorize. Is it a glitch in the matrix or a case of time travel? The truth is that the individual in the following story was almost forced to relive a tragedy from the past. Prepare yourself, dim the lights, and join me on this journey into the realm of terror. I have always been the type of person who likes to travel, often hitchhiking. I have come across situations that leave me breathless, especially at night. However, what I will tell you happened to me one afternoon, curiously the loneliest afternoon I have ever spent while walking along the road. I had just left the town where I live. It was already late. My friends had gone ahead. They were already several kilometers ahead of me. On my back, my traveling companion, my backpack, loaded with what I needed to spend a couple of nights in the dark, and with what I needed to eat. In addition, I had my headphones with my Walkman and a cassette that I had prepared with my music recorded directly from the radio. But I didn't realize that my batteries were dying, so I better put on the radio. While I was walking on the side of the road, the cars passed by me very fast. The sun was quite strong. I looked into the distance to see if I could see my friends, but I had no luck. I stopped for a moment to put on my baseball cap, and when I put my headphones back on, the signal was lost. I tapped the device a few times and tuned into a radio station, where an announcer was talking about the terrible heat wave. Happy that the Walkman was still working, I continued on my way. It had been an hour since not a soul passed by that road. I had stopped in the shadow of a tree to drink water and rest a little. The announcer began to play rock songs from the 80s, and I was encouraged to listen to them, however. At the end of one of the songs, the announcer expressed that it was the first time he had heard it. This puzzled me a little, since it had been several years since I had heard that song. I didn't give it any importance, and continued listening to the music. An hour later, a series of clouds had covered the sun. The radio went off, and in addition I had noticed that no car had passed by. I had seen a couple of farmers who looked at me strangely as I passed them. I was already exhausted, and I was hungry. I thought about stopping to get myself something to eat, when finally a car passed near me. It was not going as fast as the others I had seen hours ago. It was an old car. The car stopped a few meters away from me. Surely it had stopped for me. "Good afternoon," said the driver, an elderly man with a white beard. "Do you want a ride?" I looked out the window and saw a young woman in the passenger seat, perhaps his daughter, and in the back of the car was a child playing with a rag doll. I saw room for me and my backpack, so I accepted. The car wasn't going as fast as I expected, however. It helped me regain my strength. "Where are you going?" the young woman asked. "To the next town," I answered. I didn't want to talk much. I limited myself to seeing the landscape. While I saw how the clouds were gathering to let the rain fall on us, and we were approaching the first tunnel, I saw the boy with the rag doll. It was an ancient doll. I smiled at the boy, but he ignored me. My Walkman turned on again. I had forgotten that I had my headphones on, and the battery had recovered for a moment. At that moment, a song was finishing. Then the announcer mentioned that today was commemorating the landslide victims in the tunnel, which was precisely the one we were going to pass through. What a coincidence, I came to think. We are just approaching that tunnel. The announcer continued speaking. "An elderly man, his grandson, his daughter, and a young man died in the landslide." This must be a joke. It was the first thing that came to my mind. This is a damn coincidence. At that moment the rain began to fall, and the tunnel was already a few meters in front of us. I could already see it. The announcer then said, "If it had not been for two farmers who were passing by, no one would have realized that a car had ignored the mudslide warnings. This was already too much." "Stop the car!" I warned the man. He was confused and asked me why. "If we keep going, we're going to die. There's going to be a landslide." The young woman asked me to calm down because it wasn't even raining hard. "Stop, damn it!" I yelled at the man, who stopped slowly. I took my backpack and got out of the car. The child was crying. Perhaps I had scared him with my desperation. The young woman insulted me for having scared the child. The old man, he didn't say anything. He just headed towards the tunnel. The rain got worse. I looked for shelter. The storm covered everything in seconds. I took out my blanket and covered myself with it. I looked out to see the tunnel, but I didn't see anything happening. I decided to spend the night there, apparently. I wouldn't be able to get out of there in the next few hours. The next morning, the fog covered everything around me. I finished breakfast and put my things away. Without realizing it, I slipped on something I had stepped on. I turned around and saw an old rag in tatters. I moved it with my foot a couple of times, and when I took it out of the mud that covered it, I was terrified to see that it was the same rag doll the child was playing with. I took out my flashlight. There were 3 crosses there. The smallest was where I took the rag doll from, and the other 2 crosses had something written on them. To my father, sister, and nephew, rest in peace. I left quickly and headed towards my destination. In the middle of the fog, I looked back with fear. I didn't know what had happened, and that's when a whistle caught my attention. I turned and saw a couple of farmers. One of them asked me, "Are you okay?" I didn't answer him. I turned around and started jogging. At that moment, the radio turned on again. Music from the 90s was playing. The sun began to clear the fog, and without looking back, I continued my walk towards the tunnel, where I saw how cars were already passing from one side to the other. As I told you from the beginning, several things have happened to me, however. I would never have expected something like this in broad daylight.